Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Adobe Creative Cloud for Teams. My name is Sakina Vora, and I'm the Volunteer Events and Marketing Officer here at Connecting Up. Our speaker today is Matt Davis. Matt has 30 years of experience in both trade graphic, reprographic, and global agency production environments, 11 years in pre-press industry and show ads, and nearly 18 years with DDB Melbourne and DDB Chicago. So before I hand it over to Matt, just wanted to go through some housekeeping notes. To those who are new, please feel free to type in the questions in the question box. We will try and make sure to answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. If you're facing any technical issues, like if you're having any audio issues or are unable to see the slides, please type in those issues as well, and we will get it sorted out for you. This presentation is being recorded, so everyone present will receive an email with the link to the recording and slides by the end of day today. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Matt.
Thanks. Welcome everybody, and today I'm going to take you through what is the Creative Cloud. What have we done in Adobe, why have we gone this direction, what value does it offer you, and all different things. So the first thing we need to know is the landscape for creative professionals today has changed. And so we have things like apps, we have things like mobile devices, there's big data and cloud computing, there's analytics, there's personalization of materials, collaboration, responsive design, speed to market, new media popping up, very regularly, and ever-changing technology. It's getting faster and faster. As I like to say, you think of all the technological change last year in terms of social, consumption habits, technology, that'll be the slowest year for the rest of our lives. And at Adobe, we recognize that. So part of the solution, the cloud, is helping you keep up with these challenges. And we're going to show you a few things today to show you how we've moved beyond what you might imagine Adobe was to the bigger offering now around our services and everything else we do. So Adobe's now really has changed as a company. So today we like to call ourselves, we change the world through digital experiences. So virtually everything you see in media these days, Adobe touches in some way or another, whether it be traditional media like TV or print or radio, whether it be stuff on the web, whether it be some social posts and imagery going through, whether it's photography, whether it's cinema, whether it's apps and games that are out there, is that we play a part in a lot of the creation of most of these types of media. And the Creative Cloud's really interesting too, because now with the Creative Cloud and the latest offering of tools, there's nothing much you can't create in the cloud. And we're going to show you a little bit of that today. So before we go forward into the Creative Cloud, I need to understand where Adobe is going as a company. So as a company now, we're trying to white space all that area from the moment you think of an idea to the moment you want to measure how successful your campaign was, whether people subscribed up, whether people donated, whether they shared your content, etc. All these things we now do across both of our clouds, as we like to say, where art meets science. So the Creative Cloud's everything you've known for a long time, plus a lot more with what you're going to see today. And that's how all the creation, this is where we make all of our stuff and we manage it out to humanity. So we're able to send apps out and host websites, all that sort of stuff. The Marketing Cloud's really around how to go that extra mile. So it's really around digital asset management and content management systems. It's around tracking and building your social campaigns and tracking social sentiment, getting SMS things out. We have campaign management tools now that allow you to do e-blasts and track how your campaign's tracking. We have social tools now that allow you to do most of your social. We have tests and targets that allow you to target people at a group level or even at a personalized level based on analytics. And then, of course, Adobe's famous now for our Adobe, what used to be known as Omniture Site Catalyst, which is now Adobe Analytics. And a little known fact is we do more analytics per day on a business level than Google. In fact, we're the leading analytical company on earth. And the platform's prevalent in a lot of big organizations throughout this country. So all the 4 big banks, a lot of the federal government, things like Fairfax, Qantas, all these types of things now are using our Marketing Cloud as well as our Creative Cloud types of services. So really the company you knew before has really evolved along. But today we're going to talk about the Creative Cloud and why we went this way. So this is what the Creative Cloud looks like today. And yes, there's a lot of apps in the membership model here. So we look upon these, and with all these apps here, there's apps that you know and love. So there's things like Acrobat in there, there's things like InDesign, Photoshop, there's the web tools of Flash and Dreamweaver, there's the video tools which are really starting to make a big impact amongst most of the big networks, the big cable providers, documentary filmmakers, sportscasters, newscasters. All these types of people are now moving to our new Premiere Pro workflow, which has really come of age over the last couple of years. So another great product in there. But also too, there's a lot of products you don't know in here. And at Adobe, we're famous for making products you didn't even know you need. So there's things like in here like the Edge Animate tools. And I'm going to show you a couple of these today and why they actually matter. We have other tools like Muse, which you're going to have a look at. We've got things like PhoneGap Build for building native and hybrid apps. I've got the gaming tool. I can host websites through the hosting viewer, through what we call Business Catalyst now. We have our Behance acquisition for our social and our pro sites. We have Lightroom included. We have InCopy included. There's a ton of stuff in here that enable you to do pretty much everything, as we like to say, create everything from anywhere with anyone. Plus also too in here, there's a lot of services around these as well that allow you to distribute, allow you to do things. We're going to have a look at a couple of those as well. So the Creative Cloud brings everything you need together in one place. It's simplifying the creative process from start to finish and allows you to get access to the creative apps you need when you need them. So if we go back to that slide, in here if you don't need all the apps, you don't have to use it. Think of it as a gym membership. I might want to use the weights, I might want to use the stepper, and I'd like to go for a swim in the pool, but I don't particularly want to do Pilates or use the rowing machine. So if I did, I could, and if I didn't, I didn't have to. But the other good part is I'm going to show you some of the learning resources later that all these tools you can now learn yourself. So a lot of these, if you ever wanted to do it, now's the perfect time to get on board and do more with what you currently have. So the Creative Cloud was an interesting idea that Adobe had about 2 years ago, and we're fully committed now to the cloud, hence our move to the subscription model, and hence our move aggressively into the services area, trying to do more with what you have. And so far it's been a successful transition for us. So it's sitting at about 1.8 million paid subscribers, but 26% of these were first-time users to Adobe, because we've lowered the upfront cost of getting involved through subscription, so a lot more people are now able to afford and actually use our tools for creation. So a really good part from there. Now before we look at some of these tools, let's talk about some myths and some of the things that you may not know, or the things you may know. So Mythbusters, I like to do this. So the first thing is the word cloud scares a lot of people. Oh, the cloud, security, all this stuff. Do my apps live in the cloud now? No, your apps are still desktop apps. There are a lot of services that do live in the cloud. I'm going to speak about a few of those and show you why you want to look at those. It's a tremendous benefit. But your typical apps still install on your desktop. I mean, you can't have a situation where Premiere Pro or After Effects or Photoshop and Illustrator or even Dreamweaver would want to live in the cloud. You would get that latency, but these are still desktop apps. You just happen to source them from the cloud and install them on your desktop computer, and a lot of these are new too. So with Creative Cloud applications, moving on from the old Creative Suite set of products, which is now over 2 years of age, we've done a lot of re-engineering. So all these apps are not only more powerful in terms of 64-bit, taking advantage of CPU and GPU. They also offer the new generation touch and gesture. They have web and mobile device partners that go with them as part of services. They're now a lot more dynamically linked across the range of tools. So they've got a lot more powerful over the last 2 years. It's another myth. I need the internet access all the time to use my apps. That's incorrect. I mean, typically it wants to do a call every 30 days. And that's for two reasons. Number one, it's for Adobe's need, because we had a lot of piracy with Adobe products. And number two is, as an organization, this is your investment. So if you're using a Teams, we're using Enterprise, that's your software. So if someone leaves your organization, and for security and for other reasons, you can simply turn them off, and then all the services, all the stuff that they've had, so they may have websites hosting for you, they may have DPS apps, they may have a Muse sites, all sorts of things there that you turn off is now in your possession of your organization. So every 30 days, and worst case scenarios, you can be up to 99 days without access to check the licensing. I have to store my files in the cloud. Another myth. Well, in this case here, we do have cloud storage. For those of you on individual, you get 20 gig. For those of you on Teams, you get 100 gig. And Enterprise is negotiable, what you want. And there's a reason why you might want to store files in the cloud, and I'm going to show you that later. It's really for transitionary files. But if you don't want to store your files in the cloud, you don't have to. You can manually upload if you want to do it on an ad hoc basis, or literally you can turn it off at the firewall if you don't want your organization to have any sort of data leaks out there. And we'll talk more about that later. And I have to update my software every time Adobe provides an update. We've got a lot of innovation coming on board, a lot, which we're going to talk about and show you a couple of slides on. But in most of these little scenarios, the software is a choice. There are very few criticals. There will be a couple, but basically it's up to you whether you want to take advantage of the new features that we release. And we'll tell you why in a sec. So over 2 years ago, we launched CS6. And then straight after that, in the about 2 years ago, we actually took the CS6 apps, re-engineered them, and put them into the cloud. And over the course of the first year, we saw a lot of innovation going through. And there's a big reason for this change for us. So number one is we're a Sarbanes-Oxley company. So we can only sell you a product every 18 months under Sarbanes-Oxley rules, being US corporations. So in the April of 2012, we released Acrobat 10. Now straight away we noticed a lot of organised crime, a lot of hacking communities putting malware into PDFs, and we had a string of attacks around the world. So we went back into Acrobat 11 and we actually built a sandboxing technology that allows malware to actually ask permission to do anything. So if malware wanted to install some sort of clandestine app on your system, the sandboxing technology forces an ask. Will you allow this activity, which of course you can deny or allow to go through. So that sandboxing technology we couldn't give to you typically. We have to say, sorry guys, we can't sell to you for another calendar year. But now with the cloud, we can release that ongoing innovation. Some other examples of digital publishing suite, which I'm going to touch upon lately. That's our distribution system. So Adobe is now in the distribution and analytical game across mobile devices. So in this case, I can use my InDesign skills, or I can come at it from HTML5 through Dreamweaver or some of our other tools, or I can come at it through digital asset management and CMS systems. And I can make mobile content for mobile phones and tablets. So very important if you're looking for a solution to handle Windows, Android, and the iOS platforms out there. We have a very, very powerful solution, and I'm going to enjoy showing this one later. But this system is a heavily fast-moving target in that digital publishing world. So already our DPS is already on version 30, and it's only just turned 3 as of this month. So you can see the types of innovation and the aggressive upgrade plans that we have for some of our products. One more example is Dreamweaver. So we released all of our products in June of last year. So it's the first generation of the full CC applications, what would have been known as CS7. In this case, it was our full launch. Now, 3 weeks before we launched, Google went and changed their rendering engine. So straight away, our Dreamweaver was actually redundant before we even went to market. But with the new cloud offering, we're then able to go back to the drawing board really quick, and within a 5-week period, we're able to resupply the update to Dreamweaver, so then we could take advantage of Google's new rendering engine. So people could build their websites knowing very well they would work on that browser platform. And since then, in the second year, we've seen a lot of features. In fact, the Creative Cloud apps, all the services and apps, have seen over 500 new features and updates across the whole range. And moving past that, because the big boss said it, Shantanu, who's our boss of Adobe worldwide, he made a public statement in an earnings call. We're excited about the amazing innovation we'll deliver in a major update to Creative Cloud in the next few months. So just know there's another big release coming up very shortly. So if you're thinking about the cloud, and that now's a really good time to consider it moving forward. So let's go and have a look at a few demos here. Let's look at a few things. So the first thing I want to show you today is Edge Animate. And Edge Animate, the Edge tools are really based around HTML5. So a lot of us know the story about Apple and, of course, Flash, and how those two didn't see eye to eye and how they didn't really work. So HTML5, the 5th generation of HTML, is now a standard across all mobile devices, whether they be for the Windows Surface, the Samsung Galaxy, the iPad Retina, all those types of things there. This is actually something that I can actually show stuff on. So Edge Animate was born, and it does two things. It makes animations, and those animations also make web banners. Now the great news is here, I don't have to have programming skills to do this type of stuff. So in this situation here, I have a nice little animation I've created with some timeline stuff. So if I turn some layers on off, you can see my animation, and I've got some cool stuff. So let's have a look what this thing can do. So I'm now going to preview this in my browser, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create simple animations. So in this instance here, as a designer, I don't have to know CSS or HTML5 programming. I don't have to know JavaScript, all that sort of stuff there. I can just do this and let the background engine of this make the content for me. And in Adobe, we've done a lot of work around Designer. Really, we want you to design things you've never designed before. So this is the first one there. So we want you to design interactive content. So as I move around, I can see great contact with sound, all very easy to actually assemble and do. So let's show you how simple this actually is to create. So I won't use this one. Let's start from the basics to show there's no trickery here. So I'm going to open up something, and let's just start with something simple. So in this particular case, I've got a blank canvas, nothing much there, but I have preloaded in a sprite before. So this is my animation. This is going to be my web banner. Now typically, I'm an old print guy, so in my world, this is something I couldn't do before. So let's build a nice looking sky. And let's take my, my bird, and let's bring in my bird sprite from my library. Or it could be my logo, it could be an image, anything I sort of want it to be. So let's bring this down. So I'd like my bird to be here at the start of the animation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do an animation. I'm going to do a pin. So if we look down here in the bottom of the section here, I've actually hit the letter P and got the pin section going. So what I'm telling it at the 0 second, I'd like you to be here. But by the time I get over to this position over here in 2 seconds, I would like you, the bird, to be somewhere else. So in this case, I'm going to turn on a thing called a motion path. And yes, and I'm also going to auto-orientate. And that means my graphic is going to follow a path. So in the second instance there, my bird is going to come down to this position. And let's do a couple more things with it. Perhaps I'd like him to come, say, 200%, make him a little bigger. And let's have a look now. So I've got a bird at 100% back here, now 200. Now if I run my mouse over the line, you can see, like in Illustrator, like in Photoshop, and our other tools, I can add an anchor point. So in this particular case, I can add some anchor points in, and I can do some funky stuff. I can add some nice stretchy lines, and my bird's looking a little bit funky there. So perhaps we want to rotate him around a little bit, so he's pointing maybe down a little, and there we go. So now I've just built a simple animation. So if I preview this in my browser, I'm going to preview this, and now I've done a simple animation for my bird. Very, very simple stuff, not smoke and mirrors, no coding, done in seconds, and I can do some wonderful things with that. So now I can simply come to my publish settings. I can publish it out for the web, so that will do all my JavaScripting. It'll do all my CSS and HTML without me knowing it. I can also do an Edge Animate deployment package, so I can bring this into InDesign and actually play this in a DPS publication, or I can actually put it into one of my iBooks. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up on iBooks in the next releases. So I simply hit save, and then I publish my stuff. And now, in a matter of seconds, I now have all the resource materials I need to build all these things. So that's Edge Animate, a great little tool. I sat down with a coffee cup one day with the learning resources and learnt this whole thing in 6 hours. So very, very simple to learn. And we're going to talk about learning resources a little later. Let's look at something different. Let's look at our Photoshop. Now in Photoshop, we've got some new features here that might be of interest. So we've got some great stuff. I'm going to show you one really quick, and I'm going to show you a completely different use for Photoshop that you may not have known before. So in this instance here, I have an image. So I've got a stock shot, and I've bought it from Getty or Shutter. And then I've taken this photograph of a train, and as usual, they don't match. You know, they never match there. So typically I'd have to like carve this thing up and distort it and that, but it's not going to look great because it's just not going to look like it's there. So we have a new tool. So under the Edit menu, I'm going to go to a new tool called Perspective Warp. So Perspective Warp is the new tool, and that's going to allow me to do a front and a side on this image. Plus, you'll also notice on screen, we also have the learning resources here as well. So in this case, all of our tools, we've got in mind around education. So moving forward, when we have new features and new releases, you're going to see a lot of this type of stuff in there to help you use the tool to its fullest, to help you make it easy to learn and use it. Now, seriously, I could have done with this tool about 10, 12 years ago in my agency days because I did that many images that didn't fit. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, as it says, my first plane. I'm then going to drag the second plane, and you'll notice I get a big blue line. I'm going to snap that down. Now this is where the magic happens. So in here, I'm going to move that up to the wheel. I'm going to try and sort of follow the angle of the train at the front. Maybe tuck that in a little here, and try and get the angle of the light on there. So that'll be my front angle. On the side, I'm going to actually take this up, get the wheels and the caboose around to here. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to try and get that alignment on the caboose. That's looking pretty good. And for the sake of the exercise, we'll move to phase 2. Now, if you notice on the top here in the tool, on the Photoshop tool, you can see we're in the layout mode. So now I'm actually ready to move to the warp mode. And you notice there's a shortcut of W for that. So now I'm in the warp mode. And so the warp mode allows me to do some pretty funky stuff. So when I'm in the warp mode, so let's grab some things. So I'm going to grab the back of the caboose. I'm going to bring that down. Maybe it's a bit too perspective-y. I can sort of do this sort of stuff and chugga it around. And maybe it's looking a little, that's not bad. Now this the front of the train, whatever you call that, is actually not looking quite right. So let's bring that up a bit, and perhaps let it sit around about there as that. And then maybe the front of the train can be a little fatter or a little wider. And we'll do that part. And we'll actually use the tick box to apply that. And all of a sudden now we have the perspective warping in the way I'd like it to do. So once again, that's under Edit, and that is our new Perspective Warp tool, one of the many new features in Photoshop. I'm going to show you one more. It's a little older, but it's one of my most favorite in the last few years. This one's called Generator. Now, before we talk about Generator, at Adobe, we do know one thing. We know that 90% of all websites begin life in either Photoshop or Illustrator. So designers like to design in those tools. Now the problem is, when you're designing in those tools, I'm just going to reset my workspace. When you're designing in these tools, you have a lot of work to do to actually bring out elements. So in this case here, you can see I've got a lot of elements, a lot of buttons, I've got a lot of pictures in here, and my program is going to pull his hair out when he sees this stuff. He's going to go, my God, I've got about 3 weeks worth of work here. So now we have a new tool called Generator. So what Generator does, it works upon the naming conventions of your layers. So in this case here, if we look at some layers, we have some stuff here saying featured hotspot hiking JPEG, hotspot hiking PNG, we have text layers, we have all sorts of things. So you can see we've named these layers. So what I can do is I can do some very powerful things. So I can actually extract this image out now. Perhaps I'd like to make a bigger version. So perhaps I want a 200% version, and I'm going to call this one size example, and we'll do a JPEG on this one, or a TIFF, or whatever we want it to be. So now I'm going to make 2 versions of this. I'm going to make a normal one, and I'm going to make a 200% version of that file just by naming the actual layer name itself. And this is what it works on. So now I'm going to go to Edit, and under File, I should say, naughty me, and I'm going to the new feature of Generate. So File, Generate, and I'm going to turn on Image Assets. Now notice also too, we also have Edge Reflow Project. I'm also going to turn that on as well to do both. Now this is where the magic happens. So in the background now, because I've toggled those 2 on by default, it's actually going to do some pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to come into my demos, give me 1 second, and I'm going to go to find the original on this one. So there we go, find a show original. And we notice that already there's my final asset. So today at 2:23, what Generator's done, it's gone through and made all those assets all separate. So now for a web developer, I've got all these really cool things that I can actually have. So I'm looking through here, there's all the bits and pieces I made, all the stuff's in there, so I've got some great stuff going through. And there's my size example. So my size example is still an image, and it's actually 200% the size I want it to be, 800, where the other one was actually at 400. So you can see how easy it was to actually make all the individual pieces. Now typically that would take someone a day or 2 to actually to extrapolate these out, name the assets, get them in the right formats, get the right structures, the right sizes. It would be horrific for someone to actually build. Also too, we notice we've actually made the reflow project. So today at 2:24, I've made a reflow project. Now reflow is a new part of the Edge family. So the good news now is not only in the reflow do I have the reflow file, I've also got the same assets that I'm ready for. So the same things are in here. So as I look through, I can see there's my size example I made, There's my kayaking image up here a bit higher. All the ones I made before, the same as the other folder would do. But in this case here, I have a reflow. So let's have a look at reflow. So reflow is a new tool we have. It's actually still in preview mode, so we're still developing this out. But it's a tool you can actually use today. And what it's around is responsive design. Now what responsive design is, that's design that actually fits form factors. So in the mobile world, across smartphones and tablets, there are two ways to mobile. You can either go responsive with your websites, and that means your website's going to fit different form factors. So as you go from Samsung TV down to kiosk, down to desktop, down to laptop, down to tablet, put the tablet side on, go to the mini iPad, go to the large Android phone, the smaller iPhone, go to the watch, go to the glasses, and whatever else they invent tomorrow, we know that our design will actually respond to those form factors and actually respect them. And here's how we do it. So at the top, you'll notice we have these colors. And what these are, we set up the media queries. And then what we do is we set rules around things. So I'm just going to click on this group of elements, and I'm going to move this design in. And as it hits different areas, you can see that different things are happening. The rules we've set are starting to apply on this. And once again, I've used no programming for this, although programming to finish off will be necessary. But as a designer, I can now do 90 or 95% of the work. And our code's getting cleaner. So in here, I've set this. I've said in the layout here, it needs to be visible. The position is static. I'd like to sort of range top and right. And as it collapses down to the next layer, you can see we've made the changes. So we changed the margin. We changed the top and the left margins. As we get down a little further, you can see we start to do some other things. So this one here, the size goes to 97%. We've got some other ones that are affected. As we come down to here, you find things might even become invisible or hidden, or they might change out. So we can start to really do this. So as a designer, you now have some tremendous power to actually design across whatever form factor this type of stuff would go onto. But as we know with, or what you should know, with mobile, that 6 or 7 interactions on the web now happen through an app, not through a browser. So, and that's a figure that Apple touted about 2 weeks ago after a number of years of study, including the Android market. And so we know that 6 out of 7 people use an app rather than browse online on the web. So responsive design may be great for when you've got websites across desktops, laptops, kiosks, but when it comes to mobile devices, people sort of like an app experience. And if you're trying to market to someone, or you're trying to get a personal relationship, and an app's better because an app you can opt into. You can you relate to it. You download it. You opt in, and then once I've got an app, I can communicate with you 24/7. I don't have to go find your website. I know you've got my app. I can push notifications to you. I can deliver content to you. And let's talk about some apps now. So at Adobe, we released the Digital Publishing Suite. So bear with me a moment. I'm just going to bring up my tablet onto my screen, and let's take you a bit of a story here. So we released Creative Suite 5 a few years back, and the first thing we did, we released it. We're all loud, we're all proud, and what happened? Steve Jobs went and released this thing called the iPad. So the iPad came along, and all of a sudden the iPads turned up in our lives, and things are sort of, they all changed. We know now consumption habits are changing. If you look at children now, they go straight to your laptop and put the finger on the screen and get angry when it doesn't move. All these types of things are starting to happen. So we recognized immediately we needed to do something around apps. So the Digital Publishing Suite system was born. So what this really is, it's really built around, give me 1 second guys, Publishing Suite. It's really built around how do you get content onto these devices. So I'm running through a quick little demo here, very quick. You can find a lot more information online, but really DPS is really around great content. So we all know tablets, and at Adobe, as we mentioned, because we know the analytics, we know a lot about people. We know who they are, we know how they engage, so 14 hours a week, they spend 50 minutes in a subscribed publication, 49% read, which is the second biggest thing to gaming. We know income, we know how people spend now, so this is the spending habit of choice. In Australia, we know some stuff now. We know that as of Christmas, we know 1 in 3 out of 10 purchases by smartphone and 2 out of 10 were by tablet. So mobile's buying half the material online. We know that 54% of Australians own a smartphone. right now as opposed to a normal phone internet. We also know that 24% of Australians own a tablet. But a tablet's a little different because in a tablet world, the phone's a phone, it's yours, it's a personal device. A tablet's normally a device that sits in a household of 1 to 8 people. So we think the reach of tablet could be actually higher than that of smartphone. So something to consider when you're considering going out to market. We know how devices are driven, we know a lot of stuff, but here's the really big thing today. I mean, today when you're going out to market, you're trying to get people to contribute, to help out your cause, join your organisation, whatever your business objective is, you don't know where people are going to find you. Some people are going to find you in traditional media, some are going to come in via the web. Some are going to come in via SMS and email communications. Some are going to come in via Twitter, by Facebook or Pinterest or Tumblr or Facebook or those types of things. But more increasingly now, we're seeing a big convergence on mobile. So mobile's a real different device. So getting to it's a real challenge. And these days, if you want to hit someone, you've really got to be across all these channels because you don't know where people are going to find you. If you miss a segment, you could miss a large percentage of your opportunity. But having to get communications onto all these is very, very difficult. And this is where Adobe can help. So as if you look upon those areas there, from traditional media, from social to e-blast, etc., to websites and that, we can help you here with all of our tools across the Creative and Marketing Cloud. So moving forward, we built DPS. And so DPS is really around allowing publishers to go mobile. Because it started with Condé Nast in America, big publisher, said, I would like to get my magazine onto an iPad. How on earth are we going to do it? And so we built this product for him. Since then, a number of things have happened. So now brands have become publishers. So now your organization can become a publisher. So the Creative Cloud gives you all the tools you need to create the content, and the Digital Publishing Suite platform gives you the delivery mechanism and the analytics. So think of it like you build your print. So you build your print stuff in InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator, and it's ready to go to press. And DPS is like the printer, the trucking company, the bookstore, and it's also like the accountant and the business analyst. So all these things you need to make it go live. So, and we've done a lot of these. In fact, this is an old stat. We've now broken the 180 million folios downloaded, and now 80% of publications out there to deliver their publications through our Digital Publishing Suite technology. So if you've got an ad in one of these papers, you want it to be compelling these days, otherwise people are just going to go straight through your app. So let's have a quick look at a couple of apps here to just give you a little sneak peek. Now I know the latency on WebEx is not the greatest for a compelling content story, especially with moving video, so please forgive the latency here, but this will give you some sort of idea of what we've got. So this is what we call the collateral of the future, or the collateral of today. So it's a rich immersive experience. The front cover is my cover, which is a full video. When I come in here, I'm presented with music, which I'm actually going to mute. I've got music playing. And as you can see, it's very print-like in terms of what it actually is. So in here you can see there's like the contents in here, so obviously we can navigate to the various sections across here. And as we start to go through this content, we can start to see some really great things in here. So unlike responsive design, where everything's rules-based and really around frames and the device size builds it, this is built for device. So this is built for the iPad, built for the iPhone, built for the Samsung Galaxy or the Windows Surface. It's built for the Amazon Kindle Fire. It's built for the Barnes & Noble Nook. This is stuff that's built with the great quality in mind. So a different use case scenario, but also very handy. So in here we see that design and photography and audio and video and all the skill that we've had before as designers is not lost at all. In fact, it's front and center and never been more important. So as we navigate through these, we can have some fun. We can flip through slideshows. We can look upon things. We can call out little preview areas in here and look at text. We can see little animations running that come from Edge Animate, which you saw before how to do. We can see things. We can click through slideshows. We can see cars that explode and move around. So in here I've got a user experience, and all these are flat JPEGs, and all you're seeing now is pretty much built in InDesign with a couple little Edge Animate things thrown in. So things that are moving, laser beams going through cars, some great stuff through there, some of the wonderful things. So from a more practical view, we have people like David Jones now doing this. So for them, they've moved online with a lot of their catalogue. So a lot of retailers are looking at this to go to the general public, but oddly enough, a lot of retailers are actually looking at this for more internal, in terms of training resources for their staff in shops, for their management, for their logistical teams, HR things that they've got, also legal documentations and stuff, all these types of things you can do. So an app can be publicly facing or an app can be quite private. Now the great thing is here, as we mentioned before, we know this is the app of purchase. So on here I've clicked on the buy button and I've been taken straight away via an in-app browse to the e-commerce website. So straight away I can actually purchase this dress because I reckon I look terrific in that dress. So I'm going to buy that online, and when I finish I hit done and I'm back into the content as it moves through. So some great stuff there. And even our friends in the government are getting involved. So even the ATO is getting involved in this as well. So the tax pack is now available as an Android and as an iOS app. And that really comes from a business need to augment their printed version with a digital version. Plus, this is a living document. Because this is InDesign on a tablet, I can republish these folios out at any given time. So in the instance of the tax department, when a tax law would change, and as you see, there's long content, so let's say the tax law changed on this one, deductions from whatever it is. If that law changes, I simply open my InDesign file, I change the content, I republish out my iPad, perhaps I'll publish out my Android and my Windows, and I publish out my phones as well, and then humanity gets an update next time they launch their app. In fact, I can even do a push notification to the iOS devices to let them know there's an update. So once they have the app, I can communicate to them because they have opted in on their device. But I imagine we'll see some legislation on that in the future. So that's Digital Publishing Suite, all built from InDesign, really, really powerful tool, or you can come at it from HTML5, or you can come at it from digital asset management and content repositories. So let's have a look at a couple of more things, and then we'll sort of bring it home. So we have another product called Muse, and Muse is really built because Muse this is something dear to my heart. I'm one of those guys that always wanted to build a website, and I tried learning HTML. It was killing me. I'm a print designer by heart and by habit, and I could never do anything. But Muse is actually our new solution to actually building a website. So I can plan out my pages, I can design it, I can preview it to make sure everything works. I can then publish it if I'm a Teams member using Business Catalyst, or I can use any other sort of provider that's out there like GoDaddy or any of the other ISPs out there. And then I can actually manage this if I'm using Business Catalyst as well. So let's look what this means. So with InDesign, we moved the entire UX and IE team across to Muse a couple of years ago to give it the same look and feel. So in here we have master pages. So on a master page, I can come into a master page, and what I can do is I can actually start designing. So bear with me a moment while I bring out my menus. So there's my line panel, and Muse is going to be naughty to me. I can just tell. I won't say that. Let's boot it fresh. Now Muse is still an Air app, so it's going to become a real app soon. At the moment it's an Air app while we get this thing settled down, but it's also on version 7. So interesting for a product that's not even 2 years of age. So this one here, I've got the same file. Echo sign, there we go, beautiful. And I should be able to get back when I do my design, my palette pane should be restored. And it is wonderful. So in here, when I'm doing my designs, so I go back to my plan, and I'm building my master page. And this is very similar to what you would expect a master page to be in InDesign, and it is. So in here I can put some menus on there, so I can use a series of widgets. So in this case I might want a horizontal menu I can drag on. I might want to put some panels in here, so an accordion panel that goes down. I might want to put some slideshows in, so a basic or a blank. So I can do all these types of things. I might want to put some social shares in here. So I like to put a Facebook follow or a Google Plus where no one can hear you scream, or Pinterest, or Vimeo, or something like that, or perhaps it's a YouTube link. I can put all these types of things in. And I just drop and drag them onto the page, then design away as I normally would. Now, for the sake of time, let's have a look at some of these. So once I plan it, I can then design my pages. So I move into the design phase, I get my design, I'm going to do some parallax scrolling, I can do some anchor points, I can do some wonderful, great stuff in here. Once I do that, I can preview this. I can preview it inside the app itself, or I can actually preview this in the browser. So I'm going to preview this site in my browser at the moment there. So what it does is it turns your laptop into a virtual, server, like a web server. So in here, there's my page, and if I scroll down, I can see there's some wonderful stuff going on. I've got some anchored stuff, I've got some parallax scrolling with my leaf moving at a different speed to the background. You can see some wonderful stuff in here that works. All my menus that are working, and there's rollover states going, all the things you'd want inside of an application now. I can build this now knowing no code. So for the designers out there, design is king. So I just showed you a couple of examples. So now I can make web animations with Web Animate. I can make a website now with Muse. I can do responsive design with Edge Reflow. I can build digital publications, publications to the future with Digital Publishing Suite and InDesign. I can do a myriad of things. Plus, we haven't even shown you half yet. We haven't looked at a lot of the products. So we've got Lightroom for mobile, a ton of stuff there. So let's just show you a couple more things to bring this home. So with the Creative Cloud membership, we allow you to collaborate and share, as mentioned before. So I can do three things. I can sync my files from my desktop to the cloud. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, this is really our first stab at workflow. So think of this as an approval route, or I need to get a file to somebody to do something with. So I need to send a raw photography to a retoucher. I want to send my logo and my materials to a publisher or a, some sort of media outlet. Anything you want to do. So in here, you can see we've got a file. So this is an experience there where this is syncing from my desktop. So it syncs to the cloud. So I have a copy on my desktop or my laptop, and also have a copy in the cloud. And I've allowed this to do that. And why would you want to do that? Well, number one is I can start to share things. Now, if you look on the screen, this is a PSD file. And typically I have to make that a PNG or a JPEG for anyone to see it. Now I can share native files. Because at Adobe, we know these files. These are our files. So we know what to do with them. I can see file information. I can see the colors. In fact, I can even download the colors. And I can bring them to Dreamweaver or Premiere Pro or any of the Adobe applications. I can then share this with people. So I can allow them to download or just passively look. And why would I want to do that? So they can collaborate with me. So I can turn some layers on and off. Because not only can I interact with the file from a visual point, I actually do things with layers and other features. So you'll see more of this as our Creative Cloud collaboration matures. So I can turn some things on and off. And now I can comment. So what you're seeing now is version 1.0 of workflow. So I can just send this to a lawyer. Now the great thing is you don't have to be a member of the Creative Cloud to receive this file. I can send it to my grandmother, I can send it to a lawyer, I can send it to account execs, I can send it to potential donors, anyone you want to send materials to garner comments. Plus we've also got versioning history in here as well. So really, really cool stuff. So really what this means is in here at Adobe, we really are taking a look and a step back from the creative phase. Long gone are the box products. We now moved into a services company. So we've gone beyond the desktop apps. So now with the cloud, I can sync all my settings. No matter what device I'm using, I can be me. I've got my fonts, I've got my styles, I've got my colors as you saw. I've got my assets in the cloud so I can work from home, I can work remotely, I can work wherever. I can share them with people, garner comments. I haven't shown you Behance, but we have some social networks. And I can do this across all my devices. So for BYOD, we really have a strong solution here. And most of our products now have a partner app on the iOS and Android devices, and coming up soon on a lot of Windows devices as well. So all shared and connected. So the cloud's really an offering that we like to say will thrill users and will delight IT. So how do you learn all these things? We've really done a big job here on getting all these training materials. So we've done a big job. So one thing to note, we have 80 products and services now across our clouds. So the Marketing Cloud and the Creative Cloud. In here, you'll find tutorials on most of those. So the Creative Cloud's obviously Creative Cloud tutorials. So I got get started files that actually will get you started. You know, what is this thing? What does it do? How do you get started? How do I make a basic design? Then I move into fundamentals. Then I move into the masterclass, where not only can I watch intricate power user videos, I actually enroll in classes with some of our training partners to do extra stuff. Or I can see what's new in the products, and also I can see some best practice and some workflows. And I can do with this across all my devices. And we're seeing a lot of companies set KPIs now, because now this range of tools, you can build everything. So why wouldn't you? Set KPIs to your stuff. You learn Muse, You learn digital publishing. You learn reflow and you learn animate. You can do that type of stuff now. But what happens if I get stuck? So now if I'm a member of Teams or from an enterprise account, one of the ones, I can come through now and I can actually get proper support from real Adobe experts. So I go online through my IT administrator, I will then book some time, and then that person will actually call my organization. Now for Teams, you get 2 half-hour slots per user per year. For enterprise, it's unlimited. So what I can do is I can combine some of those spots. So I might want to take 4 of those spots and do a training course on Muse. So I can do these types of things. They have expert support there, and this is over and above technical support for the Teams and enterprise members. So really the Creative Cloud allows you today, so how can I keep up with everything? Mobile, social, apps, hybrid apps, native apps, all these things that come into my life now. How on earth do I keep up? Well, the answers are in the cloud. So all the apps you know and love with over 500 features added to the new CC apps, and now all the new stuff. So the collaboration, the file sharing, the advent of devices, the services that maybe do stuff like download type, Business Catalyst to host the Muse site, Behance for my social, and I've got the learning and support there. So really the apps are only part of the story. The other story really is around all the services that are there, because these allow you to create anything from anywhere with anyone. You can collaborate and sync across your devices. You've got the latest innovation as a member. We keep you up to date with everything that's going on. The moment a new device arrives, a new file format, a new standard comes, we're right there to help you with that. The on-demand learning is there for you to learn. Thousands of hours and hundreds of hours of videos in there, so take advantage of those, learn. You know, the career benefit for you could be wonderful. Like myself, an old print guy, I was absolutely elated to move into digital publishing. I now feel like I might even see retirement. We've got increased capabilities or new revenue streams. So cut out that third-party spend and in-source it, or, you know, still do the same thing. And also, we haven't forgotten about IT. So there's a lot of deployment licensing that's made it a lot simpler. So in effect, there are 3 offerings for that. Not going to go too much into those. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up for a little bit of Q&A in the chat pod, give you guys a chance to ask some questions, or if you want to see some more things, just let me know. There's a lot of things I can show. We only really hit the tip of the iceberg today. And as you can see, the Creative Cloud is quite a large story to tell. So it does take quite a bit of energies. So I'm just going to dive into the chat pod now and just see if we've got anything. 1 second, guys.
Hi, Matt.
Yep.
Hi, we don't have any questions at this moment, but I would really encourage everyone to type in questions. And as Matt said, if you want to see something that Matt demonstrated, want to see that again, Matt would be more than happy to do it. So this is your chance to, you know, type in your questions and get them addressed. Matt, is there anything else that you want to add?
Oh, I can go for days like this. So we haven't looked at Illustrator or InDesign. We haven't seen Premiere Pro or After Effects. We haven't. Oh, we can talk for days. I haven't showed you Behance, or we haven't looked at Typekit. Lots of things in here that are of real value. In fact, in case there's any more questions to come, I'll show you a couple more things to move through. So moving through the cloud, this is the Creative Cloud in motion. So this is the download center where you find your downloads. This is the Learn Center where I find all those videos, and here's the File section where I do all my syncing. So the cloud makes it very easy to look through that type of stuff. We also have Behance, and Behance, another interesting part, this is really our social part. And this could be an interest to non-for-profits because this is an area that people go to actually showcase their work. So if you've got great creative work promoting your cause or your organization, then you can put stuff in here. And why would I want to do that? Well, in here, if I look at this, if I go to the About section, this is actually the world's largest creative community. In here, there's a lot of people. So I'll just show what that means. They have 1.6 million Creative Cloud members in here. And so all the projects, at the moment in the past 30 days, there's been 72.7 million project views, and 5.6 million people have actually bothered to reply to somebody about what's happening on Behance. So they've seen something they like. Now, the other really interesting part here is you can discover talent. So I can search upon here. I can look for galleries, so they could be curated galleries from organizations, so it could be non-for-profits for design awards, Pantone, Wacom Gallery, student shows, etc. So I can actually put my own little showcase up on here. And the other part is too, this is a great place to find talent. So I can look for talent, or I can be talent. In this case here, you can see that I'm being talent, so I can see some stuff I've had a job before, so you can see I'm legitimate, and I actually show off my wares. And I can see that, Matt's done some work in his time in my days in the agencies, so I can call up some of my work, actually preview it on the browser, and I can check out some stuff. So in this case here, I can look at some of the artwork and go, wow, he's actually done some stuff. I'd like to hire that guy. Or, I'd like to, send some work. And also, too, we can host jobs online as well. So in here, you'll see a lot of stuff that says anywhere. So now people can actually find work online here for a very nominal fee, or the person posting. And you can also find your own people here. So if I discover a great storyboard artist in Norway, or I find a really good motion designer in New York, and I want to use these people, you've now got an avenue to tap into a lot of different people. So another one I want to show you is Lightroom. So Lightroom's now gone Lightroom for mobile. So with Lightroom now, I can make a collection. I actually do a collection. I can now sync that to the cloud. And why would I want to do that? Well, number one is Lightroom is if anyone uses that, is a very singular type of application. It was really for a photographer to sort of take photos from their device, sort them out, and then actually develop and do what they want. But they couldn't collaborate and share. And now Lightroom for mobile takes you that one step further. So I can sync this up to the cloud. I can come into my browser and I can look upon all the artwork that's in there. So I can look upon all these images that I've shared. Or I actually come into my device. So on the device now, as I mentioned, most of our products, we're augmenting some part of the workflow across devices. So I'll just let this one kick in. So in this instance here, I'm going to come into my Lightroom for mobile, just released 2 weeks ago as part of the innovation of the cloud. And let's have a little bit of a look at this. So let's wait for my network latency to catch up. But at the moment, you see I've launched the Lightroom app. And this is what I see. So in here now, I actually look at my photo. With a swipe up, I can make it a pic. With a swipe down, I can make it a reject. In this case, I want it to be a pic. I can also come in and I can do some stuff. So I might want to color this. So let's put something quite radical. So let's go to the blue one. So let's color this blue. I want to do some general punch. I want to add some effects, whatever I want to do. And when I'm finished, I can actually upload that to the cloud. So I do a sync now to the cloud, and that will actually start syncing back to my database on my desktop. So think of this area. I'm sharing this with my art director or my editor. I'm sharing it with someone in my team. If I hold 3 fingers on this, you'll see in a second, actually does the before and the after. So let's wait for that to kick in on the screen for you. So I have 3 fingers on the tablet, and I'll see in the before and an after of this itself as it goes through, you can see. So we're using gestures now to do a lot of stuff. And so gesture is becoming a big part in some of the Adobe tools. So now when I come back in, I'm just going to kick out of here, turn my iPad off. Bear with me one moment. Back to the iPad. I'm going to come back into Lightroom. And in about a minute's time, in fact, it's already loaded it. In here, you can see it's loaded it. The changes I just made on a mobile device are actually reflected now in my composite. Plus, if I don't like it, I can always turn them off, go back to default settings. So that's Lightroom for mobile, just another one there. Guys, you got any questions at this stage? Otherwise, I'll just...
Yes, Matt, we do have a couple of questions here.
Looking at this stage?
Hello, Matt.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, so our first question is, what are the main differences when moving from boxed CS applications to working in the cloud, other than new features in individual applications? This question comes basically from an individual who works in an office team environment with 2 designers.
Yep, in that case there, the box was just serialized, so in that case you would use the DVD to actually install the software. When you move to the cloud now, you can either install it individually from the cloud, so download the new Photoshop and install it, or you can take advantage of the create a package and then deploy those out, or I can just do it one-on-one. That's my choice. Also with the team section is that you can have a team running, and I can move the licensing in and out of my organization. So in this case there, I might have my 2 designers. Someone leaves, so I simply revoke the license of that software, and I give it to the new replacement person. So there's some of the things you can do. And then once you are on the Creative Cloud, you unlock all this new stuff. So CS6, you would have known the old applications, so you don't get the Muse, you don't get the Edge tools, you don't get Lightroom included, or InCopy, or any of the the sharing resources like phone gap builds and things like that. So all these things come with the cloud. So it really is a lot more value. And also too, we've lowered the cost of entry. So moved to a subscription, which is typically ran about probably about 12% of what the initial sticker shock was there. In fact, for most non-for-profits, you qualify for the educational offering, which is actually quite a compelling price point. So if you do qualify for that, I imagine you guys will take care of that on your end.
Okay.
Another question here.
Yes, we have another question here. Our office is moving to Citrix. How well does CC work in this environment?
We don't actually recommend running in there. If you're running Acrobat, it does run okay, but in terms of the big heavy lifting tools, the Photoshops, Dreamweavers, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, After Effects, we don't recommend those in a virtualized environment. Really, they've got a latency. Also, you're dealing with very large file formats. And so number one is you've got the latency of running a virtualized environment for the software itself, and then you have the latency then of running, anywhere between 10 and 4 gigs worth of data through these. So we really recommend best practice is to run these as desktop applications in that. So, but by default, Adobe does not support virtualization, even though you can do it if you like, because there's a number of different factors involved. There's network speeds, different types of operations, there's network traffic, there's software types. There's all sorts of things there that actually add denominators to actually what things that can go wrong. So things like Acrobat and some of the small tools, you can give it a go. By all means, please do. But we really recommend the heavy lifting tools to leave as a desktop app itself.
Those were the two questions, Matt. We do have just a couple of minutes, so would you like to say some few last words?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, there's some great stuff to look at. I'm just trying to think what else. Here's another a little example. I'll just show you a couple more little tidbits with your appetite. This is Cooler. So with Cooler, I can make color designs up. And you saw before on the cloud where I could design download the color swatches. So if you have corporate colors or you have design colors for your latest project, I can take advantage of Cooler. So I can do all sorts of things. I can do triads and compounds and that. And I actually save these settings. And then these settings will appear in parts of my applications. So if I'm going to come in here, and where is my Cooler? There it is. So I can actually make swatches and I can share them from my Cooler, and they come up in all my apps now. In fact, I can do vice versa. So I can download color themes as I make them, and they come down, and I can actually do some great designs when I'm using color palettes. So Cooler is another one of those great solutions. Also, the iPhone, Android, and iPad app looks awesome. So I can actually use the camera to capture color, and then share that color across the cloud, and then it'll turn up in all my applications. So another great little feature. We also have things like echo sign as well. So signatures of documents are important. In this case, a lot of them are. So in this case here, I might have a form that I want to sign. So I've got echo sign. So what I can do with this, let me come out of here for 1 second. I actually do I want to get others to sign this document. So I can do a new thing. So I can actually send this document for signature. So in fact, that was one I already did before in my last demo, so I'll have to do a new one. But I can send stuff for signatures, and we have a whole ecosystem here where I can track all of my signing. So I can see things that are out for signatures, activities, what hasn't been signed, set reminders. I can actually manage reports. I can actually set documents up to send. I can do mega signs if I'm doing a couple 100,000 people for government or for large donors, things like that. All these types of things there. So we've got a number of products there that could be of interest to a lot of people. Okay, guys, that's coming to the top of the hour.
Okay, wonderful, Matt. Well, I thank you so much, Matt, for presenting, and thank you each and every one of you who could join us today. The Creative Cloud for Teams is now available through Connecting Up's discount program. I will include the link in the follow-up email, and the email will also include the recording and the slides for today. So until next time, thank you, and bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.